Hi guys, and welcome to part 92 of Skyrim Mod Sanctuary. Now it has been quite a while since I have done one of these videos, and for those of you who have been missing this series, I do apologise. However, there was a reason for this delay. Recently I have created a new series for a different mod manager tool called Mod Organizer, and in the process of making these videos I had to sort of deconstruct and reconstruct my load order several times, more than several times actually, and my game was not in a playable state, at least not in a state that I would consider ready for making these mod videos, so I do apologise, but it was in a good cause. Now, for those of you who do not know what Mod Organizer is, it is an alternative mod manager tool, an alternative to things like Nexus Mod Manager. It is an extremely powerful tool, although it does have a slightly higher learning curve than tools like Nexus Mod Manager. It is not difficult, but you have to be aware of a few more things, and you have to learn some new concepts for even people who have been modding for quite some time. As I said, I have started a completely new series devoted to this tool, so I won't go into too many details here. If you're interested, go and check out that series. There is an introduction video which is about 15 minutes long, and it will explain the advantages to this tool, and if you want to get a sneak glimpse as to the real power of the tool, which are profiles, check out video 5. I show you some of the very cool things you can do with profiles. I am sticking with Mod Organizer for modding my Skyrim game, although I will be still using Nexus Mod Manager for Fallout New Vegas. And for my Skyrim Mod Sanctuary series, wherever I need to show installation, I will now show both Nexus Mod Manager and Mod Organizer if there is something special that needs to be done. So that is the reason for the delay. I now have a new mod management tool, I have a new modding setup, and I'm ready to test out some new mods. Now, the first mod that grabbed my attention will come as no surprise to anyone who has been following my mods or my videos for any amount of time, because it is Extended UI. This is a mod that attempts to, well, basically make certain parts of the user interface a little more usable. Now, of course, we already have Sky UI for that, but don't worry, this mod is, well, it's complementary to Sky UI. It works on some of the user interface elements that Sky UI has not touched yet. So both mods are completely compatible with each other, and in fact the author of Extended UI recommends using Sky UI with it, and his mod actually has an MCM menu system which of course does require Sky UI. Now, at the time of making this video, the areas that this mod affects are the skill menu, the waiting menu, and the console, which I will show you as well. If you go along to the skill menu, you will pretty much immediately see the difference. You now have your magicka, your health, your stamina all up at the top. They're a little more streamlined, and you have the exact numbers, and you have all of your skills listed below, so you can see what skills you've got, what their value is, and how far you are to gaining the next point. My only complaint about this part is if you travel along, you will notice the selected skill is highlighted, but it's not highlighted very much, so depending on your monitor and your settings, you might have some difficulty spotting this. I think I would like to see a bigger difference, perhaps even a different colour on this. However, you can see which skill you are looking at, but you can see all of them at once. And when you zoom in on a skill, you will notice the other areas fade away, and you get more real estate that is devoted to just that skill tree, which actually allows you to see slightly more of it. This is especially true if you are using a mod such as Skyrim and have massive skill trees. As you can see here, for my two-handed weapons tree, I can see far more of the tree. I can actually see all of these perks right at the end of the tree, and even some of the perks in trees right next door. As with most other UI mods, this is not about giving you more power. It doesn't really add any new gameplay or game mechanics. It just makes the user interface experience a little nicer. You just get more information at once. I did mention that it also changes the wait menu. How does it do that? Well, the default wait menu gives you a maximum of 24 hours. However, with this mod installed, if you go along to the mod configuration for extended UI, maximum value for your sleep and wait menu. You can modify the maximum value if you have this selected. Then you can change the number to whatever you want. Perhaps you only want to be able to wait for 2 or 3 hours. But if you're the sort of person who's using mods that require waiting for long periods of time to flush cells out, this is actually pretty damned useful. Or perhaps you've got a quest that won't need you to rest for 3 days, 4 days, and you don't want to do, wait 3 or 4 times. You can just set it to whatever you like now. And once I go back into the wait menu, I now have anything up to 720 hours. And as I mentioned, there are some tweaks to the console. Now, he's added some new console commands. I will let you discover those yourself. You can go and read those on the page itself. However, when you go to console now, you actually get the current cell's form ID given to you, as well as whatever the selected reference, wherever it is you click. And as an added little bonus, you also have the option in the MCM to go full screen for the console, which does exactly that. Now the console is full screen. Of course, I can still click through it as before. If that is something you would prefer, perhaps you need a lot of information. Obviously, that is something for people who do a lot of console work, perhaps mod makers, and probably not for everyone, but it's a nice little feature. All in all, this is just one of those mods that seems a no-brainer to me. It's useful, it's pleasant to use, especially if you are using something like Skyrim. As I mentioned, being able to see more of the perks in the perk tree and being able to see their names, because of course some of these perk trees have a lot of names, long names and so on. This mod makes it a lot easier to actually read those. So in the end, this is just one of those things that I'm going to file away as, why would I not use it? The next and the last mod I'm going to show you in this video is Skyrim Enhanced Camera. And this is a mod that attempts to make the first-person camera feel, well, more immersive. Now, this has been done and attempted before, and with mixed results. And just to let you know what it's attempting to do, I'm stood here in the nice white snow looking at my shadow. I've got a shadow. Now I'm going to go first person, and I'm going to look down, and as you can see, there is no shadow. But beyond that, there is also no feet. I have no feet. I can even take out my weapon, so I can see my hands, my weapon and shield. I can see my hands and shield, but I still don't have any feet. I have no feet, and I have... oh, well, I think my shield has a shadow. There you go, my shield has a shadow. I do not. And that is what Skyrim Enhanced Camera attempts to fix. So, back in the game with the mod installed this time, looking at my shadow once more. If I go first person, there you go. You can see my, well, you can see my stomach, you can see my hands, and you can see my shadow. Now, there is a tiny bit of clipping. I can actually see through. It does depend on what you're wearing, and for example, if you wear a cloak, it definitely is a lot more visible. And you can see my shield if I switch to it. Now, if I draw my weapons, I can still see my hands, I can still see my feet. Same with the bow. And it all looks very realistic, which is great, but we've seen this before. So what makes this mod different? Well, what makes it different is it feels pretty much the same as the vanilla game. When I'm looking like this, when I'm moving around with my bow, when I'm shooting, everything feels identical. I don't feel there is any difference whatsoever. It's smooth, it's easy, and yet there are my feet, and there's my shadow. And the thing is, this is accomplished by having a hybrid system. In the previous mods, what actually happened was it replaced the first-person model with the third-person model, and then placed your camera, your eye, on his face. This mod has a hybrid system that uses the first-person arms with the third-person torso and legs, and it really does work. Gone are all the problems you had with head bobbing. For anyone who's tried another mod and you had head bobbing, none of that. It feels exactly the same as the vanilla game. Everything you do feels the same. There just is. There's no difference. It is really pleasant to play. It's exactly as the normal vanilla game is. I've been running around for hours. I've tried all different areas, and honestly, you could just forget you have the mod installed unless you glance down. You just glance down and you see your body, and it's as simple as that. You see your body and you'll see your shadow if it's appropriate, and that is it. Nothing else. No feelings of nausea, no weird head bobbing. Okay, the snow is a little blinding, so I've moved to Riverwood for the next part. This mod also allows you to do first-person riding of horses. So if I go into first person and mount the horse, you may occasionally see a little clipping when you mount the horse, but it seems to work perfectly. If you look over your shoulder, you can actually see arrows and bow, and you can actually just about see through your shoulders as well, which can be a little immersion breaking if that sort of thing bothers you. And of course you can press the button to go into third person if you prefer third person horse riding. I actually like the third person horse riding. However, I can tell you that going first person to shoot arrows from horseback really does work. It can look a little strange. If you look at the angle of the arrow, it does look a little like it's pointing more in that direction, but it works just fine. And if you mount the horse whilst you're in third person, it will keep the third person animation. So, you know, if you don't like the looking inside your horse occasionally, you can just go third person before mounting the horse. And what is one of my favourite features of this mod? First person werewolf. Even the transformation. And if I look down, I can see my shadow. If I take out my claws, I can see them. I can sprint along. I can even see my feet. On a jump, it's easier. There you go. I can see my feet. It's a little harder to see down because, of course, if I go third person, the werewolf's head hangs very far over his feet. But you can see them if you look down. And when you're running along, you can see your claws if you're sprinting as you attack. And it really does feel pretty incredible. You get very, very low on the ground, which gives you even more feeling of speed. I've also noticed that it matches the third person animation. So if your werewolf is standing still, he stands tall. But the second you turn, you'll notice he bends his knees, flexes his legs and dips his head. If you actually go stand still, I'm standing a little taller. If I turn, I dip. And this is really noticeable if you're standing near to somebody. If I stand next to my horse... Oh, is my horse being attacked by the wolf? No. If I go near to the wolf, if I stand, I'm much taller than him. If I start moving, I actually dip to his level, which is kind of cool. You get this real feeling of actually moving with the werewolf. I really do like this feature. The only part of it that I don't really like is when you do the roar. There's nothing there. I almost feel like I want to get some more visual effects when I roar. It looks up at the sky. It forces you to look up at the sky and perhaps narrows your vision or something. Because I do... Oh, I think I'm running out of werewolf time. Because I do like that effect in third person. I always have. And of course, for those vampire lords out there, this works just fine for that as well. And this works for crafting as well. If I use the blacksmith forge in first person, I keep the first person view and do all of my crafting whilst actually looking as if I was doing it, as if I was stood there pumping the bellows, as you can see, hammering the metal, which is pretty weird but pretty immersive actually. But don't worry if you're not interested in that. You can of course go to third person and then activate the forge and carry on as you are used to doing. All round, I have been very impressed with how this mod works, mostly because you stop noticing that it's there. I ran around for a few hours and I was concentrating on trying to see or feel if there was a difference, and that is the key thing here. It's very difficult to show this kind of mod in a video. You really have to try it to feel it. If you've tried any of the other mods, when you tried them, maybe you felt that the head bobbing was wrong or it just didn't feel quite natural. This mod feels so natural, I honestly could not tell that I was using it unless I looked at my feet, which is brilliant. And I can also tell you that this mod is an SKSE plugin. Obviously this means it requires SKSE, but it doesn't have any ESP and it doesn't have any scripts. And so theoretically you should be able to install this mod, use it, and if you don't like it, uninstall at any point, and it should, I think, make very little difference to your save. No difference, actually. I couldn't find any information to the contrary on that. So, really, this is one of those mods that, if you've ever been bothered by the fact that you can't see your shadow or can't see your feet, you really should try. The Nexus page reports that it should be compatible with most things, but obviously some animation mods may have issues. You're going to have to test that out for yourself, and there are some other minor issues. For example, the magic shaders may appear on your arms but not on your feet, so if you cast a spell on yourself and then look at your feet, they may not glow the same colour as your hands, and this type of little thing that may occur. Fairly minor things in my opinion. He does list all of the issues on the front page. And I can tell you that installation and setup for this mod is absolutely simple. Nexus Mod Manager, Mod Organizer, same thing, download with Manager and install as normal. And if you like the default settings, it just runs straight away with no tweaking whatsoever. It was so easy to set up. However, if you want to customize some of the settings, the mod does come with an ini file, which you will find in the SKSE plugins folder. If you are using Nexus Mod Manager, that is in your data folder, SKSE, and then plugins, and you will find the two files. If you're using Mod Organizer, obviously you just go along to the installed mod, double click it, and you can check the file tree to see the structure itself, but obviously if you're using Mod Organizer, you get access to any ini files automatically from this tab. And as you can see, there are plenty of settings that you can tweak, including whether or not it goes into first person in Werewolf, Mounted, and so on. So if you do want to change any of the default settings, you can do so. Anyway guys, that is it for this video. It is good to be back, and I hope you can join me for the next part of this series, or of course the next part of the Mod Organizer series. I am going to end, as I always end, with some screenshots that you guys have been posting and continued to post even whilst I was taking a break on this series. So a big thank you to everybody who has posted. If you want to post screenshots for me to use, there is a link down below. Go and post them there. And so I will see you guys on the next video that you care to join me for. And until then, remember, as always, have fun.